Welcome to HodlFM Podcast. My name is Tanya, and together with our guests, we will be breaking down crypto, earnings, investments, and general trends in the space. Today, we will talk about Web3 marketing, how to grow crypto startups, attract audience, and promote blockchain companies in general, and Web3 games in particular. And our guest today is Roman Pinskyi, the CMO of Chainers and the person behind the D-Market launch and ICO. Happy to see you, Roman.
Happy to see you, Tanya, as well. Thanks first of all for the invitation. I've been pretty nervous about it because, to be honest, this is my first podcast ever. But I try to be as natural as possible.
That's great. And you have a very rich marketing background. Can you tell us and our guests about what you've been doing previously, what you do right now?
Yeah. So I wouldn't go deep in my back in the times when I just started doing marketing. I'll talk mostly about the past 7-8 years of my experience. So I've been at the beginning of the Market Foundation, and in 2017 we created the Market itself with Web2 gaming community in mind. And by the time there were not many ideas about players-owned economies and games. So thus for us, the adoption of the blockchain seemed like a noble step in Web2 gaming evolution. And later, the Market was acquired by Mythical Games, who were also one of the pioneers in Web2 gaming, and the creators of Blancos and NFL Rivals as well. So this was pretty famous company by that time. They were the unicorn ones, and the valuation was more than $1 billion. But it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But nevertheless, I spent 7 years working at the Market and then at Mythical Games. And this experience has opened those technological Web3 doors with vast crypto madness for me. And now I have joined the Chainers team as CMO, and my main responsibilities is to create and align new marketing strategy, brand vision, positioning, and go-to-market strategy, extending the game awareness on the existing markets and opening it for the new ones. I won't go deeper into metrics and operational stuff, of course, because I'm responsible for the sake of our time. But that's the main overview of my current state at Chainers, my responsibilities, and we'll talk later about what actually I'm doing there and how we build the marketing itself.
Great. This is very, very interesting. And so let's go back to the 2017, 2018, when there was this ICO boom. It was really crazy, right? Could you tell us what was it like back then? What was marketing a product back then? What did you do? What worked?
So it was totally different than it is nowadays. Way different. And to be honest, there was mostly hype and constant community desire to invest in something new and interesting, because the ICO, it was something new for them. It was something that they have never seen before, and something they wanted to, may I say, gamble with, maybe try their luck with. Of course, most of the investors, they just wanted to get a quick buck and become rich on another token. It was a wild west, to be honest, but the market was only starting getting traction, and public or community rounds, they were much easier and much simpler than they are now. No launch pads existed, just pure landing pages and startups, projects, and we were doing everything by ourselves. As for the marketing, media buying was the king, especially driving where the ICO lists, aggregators, Telegram shillers, and influencers. Of course, the YouTubers most of all. The X influencers time came a little bit later. It still weren't their time. It was maybe 2 or 3 years after we launched the ICO.
That's really cool. I remember those days. It was really wild and really, really cool, actually. And the niche was changing, and it changed, actually evolved a lot. If you look back at those times, and right now, it changed really a lot. And maybe it also changed in terms of marketing. Maybe you could tell us what used to work back then and doesn't work now, and would never work now.
So media buying and banner ads they were extremely popular and really expensive, to be honest, especially during the ICO times in 2017, 2018. And we were buying them straight from the vendors. We weren't using any third-party websites, just connecting directly to the websites which were selling banners and ads themselves. So they don't get much results anymore. So if you're raising money for the regular day-to-day campaigns, these channels still work, but for raising money, they won't work anymore, unfortunately. FOMO works more effective as well. Now people are more careful, or maybe they just gained more fear towards the unsuccessful projects over the past decade. And I'm not talking about like Solana shitcoins and pump fund tokens. It's something different. People still fall into these traps, and they still try to find something really, some places where they would just waste their money on.
Really nice. And in 2025, like you probably also noticed that there is more regulation right now, that the niche is becoming more normal, more institutional, and generally not as wild as it used to be in 2021 or during the ICO boom. And what about marketing crypto projects? Because it was totally different from what it is right now. Maybe you could tell us more about how it evolved until this time.
Actually, the evolution was rather significant over the past 7-8 years. Of course, as we know, almost 99% of the projects died along the way. We witnessed the evolution of DeFi, GameFi, and NFTs, of course. And it also affected marketing. And as the market itself became more or less settled, it transcends the spirit to marketing also. I see the evolution of programmatic networks or dedicated Web3 DSPs, like demand-side platforms for Web3, as it was only effective for Web2 7-8 years ago. And now they're taking its deserved place among Web3 marketing channels and instruments. And I see that many projects actually are adopting them very well for their advantage. I also see the slow adoption among regulators and how Google, Meta, and X changed their moods towards Web3 projects, slowly allowing them to run ads, especially X. Meta is still being more conservative here because they require some sort of additional permission requirements in order to be being able to launch ads there. But I think it's just a matter of time. They will also come along and the regulation will become a bit weaker from the Meta side. I'm pretty much sure about that. And of course, with Gen Z appearance, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, and other social medias are starting to take their deserved places, being one of the drivers of Web3 marketing nowadays. So although I see the space of development here and as the adoption of crypto by the users of those platforms is not just as big yet. It still has some space to grow. So we see the shift from hype-driven campaigns to ROI-powered funnels.
Okay.
That's as for the conclusion.
So basically, marketing your product is becoming a bit easier right now than it used to be, and there are more conventional approaches as we see today. Right
Yeah,
now.
it is becoming more conventional than it was before, and it adapts to the market, the whole market situation and fluctuations.
Cool. And now let's move to Chainers. Could you give us one-liners, just a simple elevator pitch?
I was preparing for that. So that's really funny that you asked about that because currently we are working on the new Chainers positioning and new Chainers like taglines and elevator pitches. So that's the latest one which I came up with maybe a few weeks ago. So Chainers is a multi-genre gaming universe that blends player-owned Web3 economy with classic Web2 gaming mechanics. The game offers a dynamic world simulator where players create, play, earn, and cooperate. That's for the short one-liner elevator pitch.
Nice, very nice, very nice. But yeah, it is good. But could you tell us more details about what is the game about and how is it different from other crypto games? Because there are so many of them.
Yeah. So it is not just a game, it's more like a virtual world, and not in classic interpretation like Decentraland, Sandbox, or Roblox. And it's definitely not a classic Web3 game where you need to grind tokens, stake them, and repeat. Chainers is an expanding virtual world with hundreds of activities and player-owned economy, but not in classic interpretation, because sure, all Web3 games are talking about this mythic players-owned economy, and Chainers has reusable assets across games. That's the main difference. From farming and city building to racing, shooting, and even like defending against alien invasions in co-op campaigns. Each asset you earn in one game can be reused in another game across Chainers universe. So basically, we are talking here about an asset cross-operability, which enhances the way we interact with games and their content. In Chainers, all in-game assets like equipment, resources, and land are NFTs, and you truly own and can use them across different games. In the future, of course, players will be able to trade with assets or even exchange them on the global marketplace, which creates the actual, like the real value in terms of players-driven economy. I would consider in-game assets here not like an investment tool, but rather the utility for game and economy development. Believe me, it's not the classic approach we used to see. So I'm pretty sure that that's something totally different, which gonna shape the future of Web3 gaming as we see it right now.
Really cool. And you were talking about NFTs here. Don't you think that NFTs are actually dead?
Well, they did in the way they have been promoted like a few years ago, because they were mostly used as a hype instrument for marketers. And I even predicted 3 or 4 years ago that they will be dead. I told that maybe 90 or 95% of all NFTs will be dead in a few years. And it will, the NFT space itself, it will change its shape and it will be driven to more sustainable economic models, for example, and utilities. For example, NFTs as art, like pure art, like we see right now in the galleries and museums, or for example, like real use cases for NFT in games. I don't think that they will die in games because it's still like a part of the game economy, and they do have like appropriate utility within the game. And in my opinion, the games actually, this is probably the best use case for NFTs implementation and interpretation as they are right now. And it will become even better and more utility will come to the NFTs.
Cool. Really, really cool, because lots of people think that they're dead. But I just totally agree with you, because like the JPEGs that used to exist were not really useful and not really applicable in the real world. So yeah. And if we're talking about the previous cycle, we also had this situation where everyone was building metaverses and it was like really massive. And were all of these click to earn, play to earn narratives back then. What do you think about these trends? Where are they now? Are they still alive? Does it still work?
Well, analyzing current market, competitors and trends, I see that the Web3 gaming market is steadily moving towards the fun-first gameplay, fun first. And I can totally understand it, as 99% in my personal experience and what I've seen on the market, 99% of Web3 games, they are simply boring. They're not interesting to play. And they like content, plot, storytelling, and interesting gameplay. Sure, the P2E model stays, since it's the essence of Web3 games with players-driven economy. You will never like run away from it. But I see that it should go beyond the curtain, and it should be as a core mechanic which doesn't disrupt the gameplay. So that's my short take on this question.
Really nice. And as far as we were talking about previous cycles, where are we now? What is it right now? Is it the bear, the bull?
Yeah, that's the question I was afraid of. Yeah, the crypto market feels as turbulent as ever. Really, market became very unpredictable, and there are reasons for that, of course. First of all, economic reasons, like surging inflation and higher living costs. They're pushing many people to chase quick, high-risk returns. And it fuels for the recent pump fund style rush from established altcoins into meme tokens. when investors shifted the liquidity, hoping to get quick gains. And now we see the USA changing the world order in trading policies, implying import tariffs and totally rebuilding the whole economy principles and the whole economic world order. This all strongly affects crypto markets, and I think that it becomes harder to predict and to invest to. And in my opinion, only high cap projects and not the long term will suffice.
Yeah, actually, it is always like that. The bear market usually is a big check for all of the projects, which those who are building are actually surviving, and those who are building something useful. And right now it is difficult to say which cycle we're in, because it is so different, and crypto market is becoming more institutional, so it doesn't go the way it used to go in previous cycles. So it's much more difficult than it used to be. And if we're talking about trends, what do you think? What are the biggest trends of the cycle?
So I will be talking about my personal trends, which I'm watching. I would closely look at AI, data labeling, real world assets, because there are tons of interesting blockchain projects in the niche of real world assets, RWA, as people call them. Science projects, and first of all, medicine, as those are the biggest and the fastest evolving niche industries. Of course, GameFi and Web3 gaming itself is strongly undervalued, but the blame is on the current Web3 gaming projects, which just simply don't deliver interesting games. And it is my personal pain I aim to solve. But I believe that Web3 games and GameFi future will come. I mean, the world is not precisely ready for that yet, but the time is getting closer and closer.
Okay, nice. And as a CMO of a Web3 game, maybe you could tell us some more practical insights about what works for a Web3 gaming startup. What actually helps to grow a startup like Web3 game right now?
So, first of all, I'll talk not about marketing, but the product itself. Working projects will deliver the real value for customers. Even if you buy all traffic in the world, but your product is shit, nothing is going to happen, of course. I see that old-fashioned Google YouTube ads still bring decent results, as if we shift to marketing. Programmatic and DSPs for Web3 are pretty good. Key opinion leaders only here became a little bit harder to decode like diamond influencers without bot traffic, because they're full of it right now. And I'm still a pretty big fan of YouTube in combination with retention funnels and narrow customer segmentation like email and Google Display Network campaigns, which are still work pretty well. TikTok is good for awareness, but the attention span there is rather low. Thus, you need tons of creativity to create eye-catching content. And the most important, and also people do not publicly talk about it usually, is B2B partnerships, which actually drive the growth and make the difference between the low quality and high-end projects, like cross promos, product integrations, content merging, and so on. There are more interesting things, of course, but it will take a lot of our time to discuss it. So that's just the main points that I would like to cover here.
Thank you, but I think it's really useful, and for those probably who are looking to grow their startups, it's really some kind of valuable information, I would say. And what about Web3 games? What are the best Web3 games in your opinion? Which ones do you follow?
Yeah, guess from the first take which game I will name. Of course, it's Chainers. Yeah, and we're in the middle of preparing our new roadmap with really cool product features and gameplay mechanics. And this year should be really fun for us. I will also mention a few other games. So I would watch Lumitera as well. They look quite interesting. Open world with crafting and action mechanics. They have just recently closed their beta test, and the game is under maintenance right now, and they are preparing for the peak release. So you cannot actually play the game at the moment, but the gameplay itself is very interesting. So this is definitely the game we should be watching for. Astronova, that's another open world MMORPG with AGI, artificial general intelligence. They're finishing the fourth pre-sale round at the moment, and they're supposed to launch this year, hopefully, which is also quite interesting and cool. If you like an old fag gamer, for World of Warcraft or Lineage, this game might remind something of those games, like with artificial intelligence and touch of blockchain and gamifying.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, we should probably play these and try them out. And what about Chainers? Maybe you could share if you guys are planning some major updates. What are you planning to do this year?
So we will reveal our roadmap very soon. Until then, I prefer to keep it secret, but I can promise that the plans are really major. I still need to just get our new producer, and we are working around like the huge roadmap and backlog that we have prepared, and we need to polish everything before I announce anything out of it.
Okay, we will be looking forward for your announcement actually. And what about generally, like we talked about trends right now, which are happening right now in the market, and what about trends in Web3 gaming? What do you think is like the coolest thing, or what is the thing you're watching?
I will be very short here. It's fun first. Web3 game devs, they need to remember why we play games, because and why gaming itself became popular in the first place. So that's the most important trend which I oversee right now. Drive into the fun first.
Yeah, I think it's really important because Web3 games right now, from what I've seen, they're not actually playable. You can either think of how to make money there, but how to buy tokens and then sell them, but not actually to play. Yeah, I do agree with you. Okay, great. And let's have a small lightning round to wrap up our conversation. I will be asking you some short questions, and you will have to give me like really fast and short answers. So the first one is, what is your favorite token right now and why?
To be honest, I do not have any favorite tokens after last and this year's market crash. I used to invest in Trophy, then let me remember. Oh, I did invest in Astronova token, which is on the pre-sale at the moment, but I wouldn't actually advise it to anybody taking into account current market condition. So I would suggest people to keep with like the major projects with huge market caps like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and for the rest of the products, just do your research and first of all take a look at the product's utility first, and then hype.
Exactly. And what is the most underrated Web3 game in your opinion?
I think it's Off the Grid. It's upcoming Battle Royale, which is also available on the Xbox. You can play it even without blockchain, not only on PC but on console. It has pretty cool gameplay, Fortnite-like for those who know what Fortnite is, and interesting mechanics. So I think it will make some noise in the future. So Off the Grid, just put it on your list and check it out.
Cool. And what about the best Web2 game?
For me, it's Death Stranding. But I do love many games equally. I mean, I've chosen Death Stranding because it is the most unusual one, which took my breath while playing. But I can name like tens of different games which I equally like and love. But let's put number one, this Death Stranding, and the second part is coming soon this year.
Okay. And last one, before we finish, maybe you could share your socials and the socials of Chainers so that people could find you.
Yeah, sure. Maybe can we add it like in the description of this podcast? And we already know because it's very hard for me to like name it. I left my Twitter and LinkedIn, and people will be able just to click
great.
and check it out.
Great, that was it. And thank you for joining, Roman. It was a really cool episode with really valuable insights.
Thank
you for sharing this information. That's all for this episode of HodlFM. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, like and share this video with your friends. And see you next time. Thank you.